device manufacturers or whether they are some other industry players. And I want to share something fun, what we did with Deutsche Telekom in the World Mobile Congress a few times back. This created, I don't have the numbers with me, but this created a massive amount of goodwill, fun, and discovery for Angry Birds. Okay, so with somewhat creative sound engineering, we got at the end of that. Now, that's just one way of looking at that. I mean, I think I'm still trying to figure out how they did it. It's just absolutely a crazy idea. And crazy ideas are what people need. For discovery, you have to be crazy. Angry Birds Space was launched from the International Space Station with an astronaut. Now, who in their right minds would come up with something as stupid as that? And you call NASA and say, hey, by the way, we're doing this game. Would you be kind enough to take some of the plush toys to the space, please? Yes. Of course, the amount of discovery that creates is massive. So creativity and fun is part of that game, right? Now, other ways to find, of course, this is what you do. This is heyday using our platform to get people to discover them. So yes, you put display ads wherever you think they're right to put. That's something that goes without giving. That's money you're going to spend, not going to stay there. Want to talk about partnerships and co-creation. Now, we're big as we are on our own, we always think, but sometimes we become much bigger when we partner with somebody. The partner becomes bigger and we become bigger than we would be only being on our own. Now, what I mean by that is, of course, things like this. Angry Birds Transformers has an immediate discovery when you hear the name, right? Rio was with the film, Star Wars here, just as an example of co-creation. Now, putting these two together makes it bigger. It's not just 1 + 1, it's going to be 3 or 4. And Transformers has really received great reviews. It's a good game. But again, thinking about these things in different formats is also important. So, from the beginning of the game, the discovery has been one thought. This comes back to the audience which was here when in the beginning of the session we were discussing, saying that although this discovery, distribution, and monetization sound like industry terms, but they have to be in your creative process as well. So when you come up with something like that, you have to think about that. Yeah, it's a tower defense game. We're going to do it with Transformers. We're going to use the old soundtrack. We're going to make the old-looking things. We're going to make a lot of buzz about that. And then you capture two audiences fathers and the sons, or the daughters and the mothers, whoever played that. So that's a good example, and I think that's something that could be utilized much more. I'll leave it up to you how you do it, but it can be done, I'm sure, and a lot of people are doing it. We're not the only one, of course. So a few things about our media as well, and this links back to the monetization later on. Because we had this 2.5 billion downloads, because we have over 200 million people monthly actively using our game, and for example in India 150 million ad impressions a month, we have a medium. So therefore we welcome other publishers to use our medium. We've taken the stance from the beginning that we're open channel, so we don't mind, on the contrary. We have a gamer there, it's a captive audience, so you have a game, you can push that. So I think it's just one way of looking at things. Coming back to the ads, where you place your ads is important. Think about the media environment. It's not just getting out there, but where it is relevant to get out. And that's, we've seen tremendously good results for our colleagues using our media to get people to play their games. And of course, this is the other way we are doing as a company to help other companies in discovery. It's a mobile game publishing program called Rovio Stars. Now these are, for example, a couple of the games and titles we've come up with. And if in the audience, if you really think that you have something tremendously good, it doesn't have to be ready, but it has to be a bit more than an idea, you can reach out. This program is getting it's getting a lot of traction, because obviously we have means to help people to get their games discovered and distributed. So that's why we set up this whole program. And we're seeing the first results. So there's the address. You can go there, rovio.com, if you don't know developers, and they'll be in touch with you. They are busy, but they will be in touch with you to see. You can also be in touch with any of my colleagues here. We have Anurag here and Imran. I don't know if you guys want to stand up. There's two men in black there. So if you want to reach out and you have some ideas you want to discuss, we're more than happy to take this word forward. So that's about the discovery. And of course, then there is this one other thing. But keep your audience in here. I will only come back to that at the end of my presentation. Okay? There's one interesting thing coming up. Now, distribution. We were discussing about the distribution and how it's done. So discovery part was there, distribution part is here. In the old days. Oh yeah, my old days, 4 years ago. So you had a game, and you wanted something to play for that game, and then you had a channel. That was quite nice, actually. Don't really have to think about that. So you put it through. Well, the industry is growing, obviously, so you get some other players coming in. Manufacturers, OEMs start to do that. Operators start to do that. Other independent stores start to do that. And it gets bigger because the industry is getting bigger. The more players are entering here. More things how to distribute your game. So if you look at that, you now probably have about 100 times more OEM stores and 1,000 times more operator stores to discover your game, and independent stores, and so on. And if I'm missing somebody's logo here, is no intention to be insulting. So don't get insulted. It's just a representation of something that I would call a spaghetti, which is a nice dish. But if you try to find out how the spaghetti moves from this end to that end, it's kind of difficult. And it's the same here. When you have your game and you want to find the gamer through distribution channel, it can feel a daunting task, and it is. Do I have an answer for you how to do that? No. Do I have some questions that you might want to ask? Yes. I think these at least would be some of the questions you might want to find so that you get in your fork that nice little spaghetti that you want. And some of these questions are like, who's my gamer? I mean, it sounds elementary, but so many times you forget that. You have but who really is the one who is playing my game in your mind? Because that has all the meaning of what you choose as your distribution channel. And then your, of course, question is, where can I find him or her? If I know that that's exactly who my game is for, where is that person? You might want to do a decision about geographical exposure. Which is the geo that I want to be present with my game? Where do I want to play? Then you have your ambitions. Is what scale do I want to play? Did we start an idea in mind to have 2.5 billion downloads? No. Did we start a vision in mind to have a big game? Yes. There's a difference. You can't know the outcome, but you have to know the scale of your ambition. And then, of course, who would I like to play with? Who are the partners that I really would like to play with? A long list of 100 players, probably you don't have the resources. This is so important to choose your destiny and not let others to decide for that. This, of course, then comes this reality check, where I truly can play. I mean, I'm also trying to get Obama to have a dinner with me, but, you know, still not happening. So I can have an idea what I want to do, but then, of course, I have to be realistic. How can I achieve that? So who wants to play with me? If I'm a startup, I'm nobody in my or somebody else's mind. I'm on my own mind, I'm somebody, but nobody else recognizes that. Then I have to figure out the way how I will become somebody. And then, of course, this is the industry at today. How big is my war chest? We look at the online business, how it's growing. Where they put all the money that they get from the investors, open up your TV. And you see where it's going. It's all about discovery for them, distribution they have. So here you go, when you look at your distribution, is how big is my war chest? How can I get my game up there? How can I make others interested? So, discovery and distribution. And in distribution, I think some very important questions about that. Going into monetization. Here is what the industry experts are saying, I've heard. You know, in-app purchasing is going up, and premium game or pay-per download trend is going down. Okay, fine. You buy this picture, fine. You don't buy this picture, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, trends are trends, but it's a sum of everybody's efforts. There's a good saying that people saying in a recession, the biggest fortunes are made. So, who says that you can't make money pay-per download? The trends. But that's not true. Somebody is making money there. You can make money with free in-app purchases as well. So yeah. So let's look at the monetization mechanics and ask some questions again. And I think this question asking is the only way of finding really good answers. We come to the same. Who is my gamer? How should I try to monetize my game? Who is that person? Is that person is a teenager with not that much disposable income? Forget getting rich with the IP. It's not going to happen. It's not going to pay. It doesn't have the means to do that. Where do I want to play is another one, geo. But if my target audience is a housewife in the United States, I can do Kim Kardashian. And I can get her to pay me $100 a week for getting upgrades and stuff. Again, where do I want to play? In what scale? Again, the scale is so important when you think about monetization, and with whom you want to play the channel partners again here. How do I want to get money out of my game defines where you should be distributed. Now, here's the two pies. I call this the West. And the other part I call the East, because I need to simplify things because I don't understand complex things. So, if I look the West, games are bringing, gamers in games are bringing most of the money. 75%, 60%, 80%, you give me the number. It's thereabouts. And the ads, because there are so many people playing the games, it becomes a medium, so we get a little, good from the ads on top of that. And in my pie of West, Japan is also West. China is also West. Korea is also West. Right? In East, it's the other way around. We know that. we're saying, okay, once we get this in place, once we get that in place, and once we get that in place, then people will start paying. Might be. But today, they don't. And if you wanted to make money with your game today, you have to look at this. If you're operating in East, you're not in China, you're not in Japan, you're not in Korea, you might well be looking how I make money with advertising. You might also want to say how I'm making money with the gamers, but it's a smaller amount. So, advertising, is this what we think is advertising? This is a generic projection of what I call a banner. Wonderful invention, by the way, by DoubleClick, late 1990s, actually coming up with the banner idea. It was a great innovation at that time. Today, it's just a nuisance to many people. So we should be looking towards something much more interesting when we are talking about advertising. And I'm going to share some of the things we are doing as a company. Because we're also noticing that, hey, we need to get advertising in such a format that the gamers are happy with that. Actually, they would even better if they can be delighted with our advertising. So that's when we come up with things like this. There's a carbonite reward within the game, so it's a native unit, right? It's not an afterthought. It's a native unit within the game. Or you can choose. You can spend your currency in the game, or you can watch your video. Now, the video might be 15 seconds, might be 30 seconds, normally not longer than that. But it's actually delighting, because I get something. It's a reward. As is this. What's a video reward? And this is Epic. Similarly, you get a little extra. Again, the same way. Here in Rio, you can watch that. You get a bit of special power watching a video. Or you can go even one step further, which we did with Angry Birds Go, and you get sort of brand integrations within the game. So it's actually part of the game, and it's relevant. State Farm Insurance. It's actually relevant to the game. It's not just non-intrusive. And they're getting great results. We have done, with smaller players like Google, some custom-rich media solutions. So you actually fling the bird to get, or pull back the release and you get free unlimited music trial. It's fun. And it's advertising. As is this. Also fun. As is this. An ad as is a game. Also fun. Now, showing this only because of this slide. The minute you are thinking, oh, we did not get the gamers to pay, well, let's take some advertising, and you lost the plot. You lost the plot in sense, you might get the money, I'm not saying, and then please do that. I'm saying you lost the plot because it's an afterthought. And it will not be as good that it would have been if you had thought in the first place. You would still have the same audience, but you could offer more. And in this advertising space, of course, it's relevant in these markets. So it's really relevant to think about these things when we're looking at how to monetize. So we should not shun over, and we say, okay, fine, let's find some banners. Let's get the network to fill it in. That's not the way to treat your customers. That's no need to treat your friends. Now, game is one entity, but game is larger than one entity. As we spoke earlier, why we have 90% brand recognition is because people have played the game, but the brand is bigger than the game now. So you can monetize more. Because if you have an asset, why don't you use it? It's like having a big house you're renting out for an hour a day. Why would not rent the rest 24 or 23 hours? Sorry, 24 we don't have. I hope we would, but 23 hours to somebody else. So we're looking at it this way. Yes, gaming is there in the center. But then on top of that started animation and video distribution, Toons channel, and we're adding stuff in there. We're coming up with a movie in 2016 in the summer. It's a full 3D animated movie. We've setting up a publishing and learning units around the game. We've established parks, activity parks and other activities. We have obviously consumer products licensing and doing a retail work. And then, of course, promotion and brand partners and advertising. All this is a way to monetize the game, which has become a brand. and therefore it's monetizable. Again, just looking at that with the right glasses on. You don't know how much you can get if you don't try that. Now, some news. We're opening opportunities to license and use Angry Birds assets locally. We already started this in China, and we're now looking at it in India. The assets we're talking about are something that can be very interesting. Now, would you be interested to buy a cricket game? I mean, the season is coming, there's so much interest, right? And 1, 2, 3, how many games coming up? We don't know, but many. Right. You might do this, but I ask you a question. Would you rather do it with us? Right. That's it. Folks, wake up. Time for questions. Okay. First question, please. Anybody? There you go. That's yours.
Hello. I had a couple of questions, at least a question about Rovio Stars. How do you decide when you look at a game or from the submissions of the games, how do you decide which game is going to be part of that program? And as a follow-up, when you mention the 3 parts, discovery, distribution, monetization, can you take, if you have the information for a game like Tiny Thief, how did that process go in a short case study for something which will...
Okay. The case study, I would not be a right person to give you. I cannot give you a better answer for the first one. The question was how do we select in Rovio Stars? Now, obviously, a team will have a look at that. There are colleagues. They have perhaps more means to bring the game out there. So they will be looking at the way it's been designed, to whom it's been designed, what potential it might have, what's the geographic reach it can, what's the mechanics, how it's going to monetize, is it which type of monetization, what's the expectation that we have. But most of all, the quality of the game. So that whatever genre the game is, it would have to be on top of that genre. So, when Plunder Pirates entered that market, we wanted to be as good, at least as good as